Decoded.
Welcome back to Book Decoded, everyone. Ready to kind of shake things up with how we think about money.
Ooh, yeah.
Today we're looking at You Don't Need a Budget by Dana Miranda. She's a certified educator in personal finance, and she's really challenging a lot of those things that we hear all the time about money, like those classic pieces of advice that we've all been given, and arguing that maybe they're not as helpful as we think they are. In fact, they might even be hurting us.
Exactly. It's like she's saying, hey, what if everything you thought you knew about money was wrong?
Right. Like, what if our beloved budgets, those things that we've been told are the holy grail of financial responsibility, are actually the villains in disguise?
It's a pretty bold claim, right? I mean, most financial experts are out there preaching about budgets like it's gospel.
Exactly. And that's why we're diving into this book, to see if there's some truth to what Miranda is saying. She even calls it budget culture.
Yeah, budget culture. So what's so bad about this budget culture anyway?
Well, Miranda argues that budget culture is kind of like the diet culture of personal finance,
Okay, I can see that.
It's this idea that we need to be constantly restricting and monitoring ourselves in order to be good with money.
Always watching every penny, feeling guilty if we spend a little extra on something we enjoy.
Right. Always feeling like we're on this never-ending financial diet. And just like with restrictive diets, it can totally backfire, right?
Oh, absolutely. We white-knuckle it for a while, trying to stick to our strict budget, then bam, we end up splurging on all those things we've been denying ourselves.
That restrict and splurge cycle, Miranda calls it.
Yeah, the restrict and splurge. And it's so familiar, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's classic mental accounting. Behavioral economists talk about it all the time. We create these mental categories for our spending, and then when we overspend in one, we feel like we got to restrict ourselves in another.
It's like we're constantly trying to balance the scales, but it never really works out, does it?
Nope. It's just not a sustainable way to think about our finances.
Not at all. And then on top of that, all that budgeting makes it so much harder to actually enjoy spending money, even when we can afford it.
It's true. I've definitely been there. You budget for something, you finally get to buy it, but then you're so focused on how much it costs that you can't even enjoy it.
It's like that feeling of constantly having to justify every purchase. Do I really need this? Should I be spending this much? It just sucks the joy out of it.
Miranda calls it the pain of paying. Like, we're constantly being punished for spending money, even when it's within our means.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're training ourselves to associate money with guilt and anxiety.
Which really messes with our relationship with money.
Yeah.
But so if budgets are the bad guy here, what's the solution?
Right. We can't just complain about the problem, right? Well, that's where things get really interesting. Miranda doesn't just criticize the traditional approach. She offers a whole new way of thinking about money.
Okay, I'm all ears. Spill the beans. What's this revolutionary alternative all about?
Well, one of the core things she talks about is focusing on what she calls the 3 dimensions of financial wellness: head, heart, and health.
Head, heart, and health. I like that. It sounds kind of holistic. So it's not just about the numbers.
Exactly. It's not just about the head part, like the logic of budgeting or the goals we set for ourselves. Miranda says we got to consider how our money choices are affecting our emotions, the heart stuff.
Right, because money can be such an emotional thing.
Oh, definitely. And then there's the health piece, too. How are our financial decisions impacting our overall well-being, our stress levels, our relationships? It's all connected.
Okay, so it's a more well-rounded way of approaching our finances.
Yeah.
It's not just about maximizing our bank account balance, but also about creating a life that feels good and is good for us.
Exactly. And that leads to another interesting idea that Miranda brings up. She kind of takes issue with the whole phrase, earning a living.
Really? Earning a living? What's wrong with that? Sounds pretty straightforward to me.
Well, she says it reinforces this idea that we're only entitled to the basics in life if we earn them. Like we constantly have to prove our worth through work.
I see what she means. Like we have to earn the right to exist.
Yeah, and she challenges that. She says we all deserve to thrive, regardless of our income.
So it's not just about earning enough to survive, but about creating a life that allows us to flourish.
Exactly. And that brings us to another one of Miranda's big ideas: reclaiming rest as resistance.
Wait, rest as resistance. Now, I'm really curious, how does rest fit into all of this?
Well, think about it. We live in this hustle culture where we're constantly being told to work harder, do more, never stop.
Oh yeah, the grind never stops mentality.
Exactly. But Miranda says that's a trap. We're actually being exploited by the system that values productivity above all else.
Okay, so she's saying that taking time for ourselves, for rest and rejuvenation, is actually a way to push back against this system.
Precisely. It's about saying, hey, my well-being matters. I deserve to take breaks, to recharge, to enjoy life.
And not feeling guilty about it.
Exactly. No guilt allowed.
I like that. So reclaiming rest is not just about self-care, it's about challenging those deeply ingrained societal expectations that tell us we have to be productive all the time.
Exactly. And it goes back to those 3 dimensions of financial wellness. Rest is essential for our emotional and physical health, and our financial choices should support that, not undermine it.
It's like we're giving ourselves permission to live a life that's both financially sound and fulfilling.
Exactly. And that's where those 9 counterintuitive principles that Miranda talks about come in.
Okay, yeah, those principles, remind me what those were all about again.
They're kind of like a roadmap for managing money in a way that feels good, you
Yeah.
know, not all restrictive and stressful.
So it's less about penny pinching and more about creating a financial life that actually supports our well-being.
Exactly. And one of the big things she talks about is embracing abundance, not scarcity.
Abundance versus scarcity.
Mm.
Okay, that's interesting. What does that look like in our everyday lives?
Well, one of the principles she talks about is conscious spending, which is basically about being more mindful of where our money is going, making sure our spending actually reflects what we care about most.
Okay, so not just like mindless spending.
Right. It's not about depriving ourselves. It's about making sure our money is aligned with our values. Like, she even suggests picturing our ideal day and then asking ourselves, does my spending match up with this vision?
Picturing your ideal day. That's a cool exercise. I like that.
It really makes you think, right? Like, if you spend most of your ideal day out in nature, but you're spending all your money on clothes and gadgets, well, maybe there's a disconnect there.
Totally. I've definitely fallen into that trap, especially with online shopping. It's so easy to just click buy now without really thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. I've been there. It's almost too easy sometimes. But Miranda's point is that we have a choice. We can be more intentional with our spending.
And speaking of being intentional, didn't she also say something about rethinking how we save money? Something about emergency funds?
Yeah. She's not a big fan of the traditional emergency fund idea. You know, that whole, like, stashing away a ton of money for a rainy day.
Oh, right. I've always heard that was super important, having that emergency fund. But what's wrong with it?
Well, she says it kind of comes from a place of fear. Like, we're always expecting the worst to happen.
Oh, I see. Always bracing ourselves for some kind of financial disaster. So what does she suggest instead?
She calls it a comfort fund.
Comfort fund. Okay, I like that a lot better. It sounds way less stressful.
Right. It's a subtle shift, but it makes a big difference. Instead of hoarding money out of fear, a comfort fund is about building a sense of security and possibility.
So it's less about being prepared for a financial emergency and more about having that cushion to pursue things that light us up, even if they involve some risk.
Exactly. It's about having that freedom to make choices that align with our values, whether that's starting a business, traveling, or just taking a break from work without stressing about every penny.
It's like saying, hey, I trust myself. I trust that I can handle whatever comes my way, and that peace of mind is priceless.
Exactly. And it all ties back to that idea of reclaiming rest. If we're always worried about money, always feeling like we need to hustle harder, we're never going to give ourselves permission to rest.
Right. And that's not good for anyone. We all need time to recharge and reconnect with ourselves. It's essential for our well-being, and it's definitely essential for our financial health, too.
It's all connected. This whole conversation is really making me rethink things. It's so easy to get caught up in all the shoulds and should nots of personal finance, but Miranda's book is like a breath of fresh air.
It really is. It's like she's giving us permission to create a relationship with money that feels good, that supports our well-being, and that allows us to live a life that's aligned with our values.
Exactly. It's not about perfection. It's about finding what works for you, and that might look different for everyone.
And that brings us to another point that Miranda makes that I found really interesting. She's not a fan of the whole hustle harder narrative.
Yeah, that's a big one. She really pushes back against this idea that we need to be constantly grinding, always striving for more.
Which is so pervasive these days, right? It's everywhere you look.
Yeah.
But she's saying that's not the only way.
Right. She acknowledges that work can be a great source of fulfillment and that we all deserve to be paid fairly for our labor, but she encourages us to question whether the traditional 9 to 5 grind is really the best way to go about it.
So it's not about necessarily quitting your job and becoming a digital nomad or something, but it's more about questioning those assumptions, those societal expectations, and finding ways to create a work-life balance that actually works for you.
Exactly. Whether that's through freelancing, entrepreneurship, or even advocating for better working conditions within traditional employment structures.
I love that. It's about taking ownership of our careers and creating a work life that feels both meaningful and sustainable.
And not just for ourselves, but for everyone. Because Miranda also reminds us that personal finance isn't just about individual choices, it's also about recognizing those bigger systems at play.
Right, those systemic forces that often perpetuate financial hardship and limit opportunities for so many people.
Exactly. She talks about how budget culture is actually connected to these larger systems of inequality and how these systems often make it even harder for people to get ahead.
So it's not just about changing our own habits, it's also about advocating for policies and practices that create a more just and equitable financial system for everyone.
Absolutely. She really emphasizes that we have a collective responsibility to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive financially, regardless of their background or circumstances.
And she even talks about some specific ideas, right?
Yeah.
Like that thing about baby bonds.
Yeah, that's one of her big ideas. It's this concept of giving every child an investment account at birth, kind of like a head start on building wealth.
Wow, that's really interesting. A way to address wealth inequality from the very beginning.
And she also provides a framework for how we can all get involved in advocating for a more equitable financial system. She calls it the social change ecosystem map.
The social change ecosystem map. What's that all about?
It's basically a way to figure out how you can best contribute to creating change based on your skills and interests. Like, are you a storyteller, a
Sure.
caregiver, a disruptor? Everyone has a role to play.
I love that. So it's not just about complaining about the problems, it's about taking action, using our unique strengths to create a better world. It's so inspiring. It's like she's saying, hey, we can actually change things. We're not powerless.
Right. We have more power than we think. And it starts with recognizing that power.
This whole conversation has been such an eye-opener. We've covered so much ground,
Yeah.
from the whole budget culture thing to the power of generosity and all the way to advocating for systemic change.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
So as we wrap up here, what are some of the key takeaways you hope listeners will get from you don't need a budget? What do you hope will really stick with them?
Well, for me, one of the biggest things is letting go of that financial shame, All those messages we get that make us feel bad about money.
Oh yeah, like we're not good enough if we don't have a certain amount saved or if we make a financial mistake.
Exactly. And Miranda really encourages us to challenge that, to recognize that our worth as human being has nothing to do with our bank account balance.
It's such a powerful message, and it's so important to remember. It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we're not doing enough.
It's really easy to get caught in that trap. And that's why I love that Miranda emphasizes the importance of generosity.
Oh yeah, that was a big one. Remember that story about Laura accidentally donating $1,000? It wasn't just a funny story. It was like a whole lesson in abundance.
Totally. It really showed how giving can create this ripple effect of joy and abundance.
It's kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
We're often told to hold on to our money tightly, to be super careful with it. But Miranda's suggesting that when we give freely, we actually open ourselves up to receiving more.
Yeah. It's about shifting from that scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, believing that there's enough for everyone and that we can create a better world by sharing what we have.
I love that. Such a powerful message. Before we go, is there any last bit of advice you want to share with listeners who are feeling inspired to maybe change their relationship with money?
I guess I would just say, don't overthink it. You don't have to change everything overnight. Just start small. Pick one or two of these ideas that resonate with you and try them out. See how they feel.
That's great advice. Experiment, play around with it, find what works for you.
Exactly. And remember, you have way more control over your finances than you might think. And you have the power to make choices that support your well-being and that contribute to a more just and equitable world.
It's all about making conscious choices, choosing to align our money with our values, choosing to create a life that feels good, and choosing to be part of a system that works for everyone.
And remember, ditch the guilt. Embrace the abundance and start creating a financial life that truly reflects who you are and what you care about.
That's it for this deep dive into You Don't Need a Budget. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's inspired you to rethink your own relationship with money. Until next time, happy reading, everyone.